Hello again. As mentioned earlier, before we get to know how to improve our communication, it is important that we learn how to practice to do that, right? Now, if you practice, and still see that you are not improving or you don't, go a level up, which means there's something in the practicing session, right? Which means the way you're practicing is not correct. You must have noticed if you are a person who has tried to practice but failed, it could be because the way you're practicing is incorrect. Now, there could be many ways that you can practice, and each one of you will have your own ways of practicing. Okay, like for example, in school, some people liked to do a group discussion for studies, and that is how it helped them. But some people, for me example, I like to hear music when I did my mathematics. When I used to practice maths, I used to only just put up listen to something on my earphones. I loved doing that. So each one of us will have our own ways of practicing. So then how do we define what is the correct way and what is not correct? What I will rather do for you is I will tell you three things and I'll show you a nice graph with which you will be able to understand what is it, what is it, or what is the value of practicing. Yes, unless you value it, you will not be able to practice well. Okay, there are two major components of practicing. One being valuing it, and second being knowledge. Yes, so value and knowledge are two main components of practicing. I will quickly tell you or show you a graph, like I said, which will help you understand how do you practice. Now look at this slide. Okay, look at the techniques to practice. Look at the slide very carefully. There's a graph, an upward moving graph, which talks about knowledge and value. And there are three phases to practicing. In fact, three phases. Okay, one is the interest phase, one is learning phase, and one is the implementation phase. When you practice, when you basically start to understand what you want to do, that's your interest phase. Okay, you don't know about it. You may not also know the value. Some of you or some of us, what we do is we might want to do something because our friend is doing, which means we don't value it till then. What happens is when we know that the friend has achieved something out of that and values that, then is when what we feel, then is when we actually start valuing it, right? So it's important that we value what we want to practice. So first is the interest phase, and then we move to the learning phase. And learning, my friends, is an ongoing process. There is no end to learning. Okay, if you think you have started implementing, which means there is no learning, it is incorrect. Okay, so interest phase, learning phase, and then comes the implementation phase. And the time when you start implementing it, you will actually understand the value of it. Okay, and so goes the knowledge. When you just had the interest, you did not value it, or you did not have the knowledge about it. When you started to learn and implement, when you actually dirty your hands on it, that is when you will know the value and you will have a lot of knowledge on it. Okay, and so the question now is, if value increases with time, knowledge increases with time, how is it related to practice? This is where you have to understand. The practicing that you do, the first step to practicing is to take a pen and paper. Anything that you practice, right? Take a pen and paper, write down, why do you want to practice? Why do you want to learn what you want to learn? If it's communication, why do you want to learn communication? Is it only for the 15 minutes of interview round that you want to sit for? Or is it only to speak with your friends? Or is it because the other person speaks really well and is taking away your credit at work? What is it that makes you think you need to improve? Find out the reason. Any reason, small or big, could be correct. It may or may not be correct for me, but it's correct for you because that's your requirement, right? So there's nothing small, nothing big, no correct, no incorrect answers to it. Just write down. I want you to take a pen and paper and write down, why do you want to start improving on communication, right? Once you do that, I want you to visualize. Once you have improved your communication, how would it be? How would you be? How would you look? How would you walk? How would you dress up? What would you do? How would you be in that 15 minutes of interview round? How would you speak with your friends, with your colleagues? Visualize. And then the third thing, repeat. What do you repeat? Repeat writing the reason again and again and again. Visualize again, again, and again. Reason being, today when you visualize, today when you write a reason, today your reason could be a 15 minutes of interview round. Once you've crossed that step, your reason to improve communication would be to speak to your colleagues. Once that is done, the next reason could be, maybe public speaking. Then it could be professional advancement. It could be anything. It could be to move out of India or any other country, an English-speaking country, right? So the reasons could be various, but at that point in time, today when you sit with a paper and a pen, what is your reason today? That is what will help you, motivate you to practice, right? And visualize yourself for that moment, okay? Now, when you have these three things in place, especially the reason why you want what you want, the visualizations are clear. You can clearly see yourself with an improved communication, with a fantastic confidence in you. This will work as a boon for you. And this is the main motivator. It's not your friend, not the interview, no one else. It's just you. And you will be the biggest motivator, right? Try self-motivating yourself in whatever you want to do. And that's the first step to practice, because that is when you will stop focusing on 1 hour of your day on that. And you will start thinking about it in the mind, which will give you a regular process of practicing. Okay, so I want you to take this paper and pen and start doing it right now. Talk about, why do you want to do what you want to do? Why do you want to improve your communication? And what are the things that you want to improve in? Visualize after you're done with all those improvements, what would you do? And then repeat. And then after this, you can start with your regular practicing, be it the reading or the speaking or whatever it is. So in my training classes, I usually tell my students, I usually make them do a lot of activities in which they are in fact able to improve, right? And they will literally know. I give them huge sheets to practice, and I do give them huge sheets to answer why. Okay, now when you know the why, only then you will be motivated, like I said, and that will stay with you for a long way. Okay, that's it for this section. I will see you in the next section, yeah, with the 5 elements of speaking. Till then, bye-bye.